indie sector might have hated Pete Waterman, but he'd be instrumental in where independent music went next.
Hello, I'm Bill Drummond. I sometimes call myself King Boy D. And
I'm Rockman, and that's what I'm going to be called today.
And we're the Justified Ancients of Movement.
For it was the Coventry pop Svengali who showed Bill Drummond and Jimmy Corti how to make a #1 record. They would form the KLF, the most successful UK independent singles band of the 1980s. The pair met whilst they were working at the Stock, Aitken and Waterman studios.
We spent hours with those guys while they were, navel gazing, and we taught them to stop bloody talking and focus, focus on it.
Got to find a bass drum beat on this record here that we can sample, then clean up.
You had to get to the chorus, to the idea, and not waffle.
Can you hear the bass drum? Boom, boom, boom. We can't use it from that bit because there's too many other instruments on top. We've got to find a bit with just a bass drum, usually at the beginning of a song.
Bill and Jimmy saw firsthand how million-selling records were produced on a budget using new, cheap computer technology that was completely changing how music was being created.
The scientists over in Japan in the past few years have been coming up with all this kind of stuff, all the stuff we're using. Like the 808, what's this, 808? This is a 909 drum machine.
They built their own studio in a squat in Stockwell, and then, in true indie fashion, they had a go at writing their own hit record. They came up with Doctor in the TARDIS and released it under the name The Time Lords. By June 1988, it was #1. Doctor in the TARDIS was produced by Jimmy and Bill and released on their own label KLF Communications. It might have been a novelty dance record, but it had the DIY independent ethos right at its heart.
It was an indie spirit forged in the early part of Bill Drummond's career when, in the late 70s, he founded the seminal record label Zoo, home to the likes of Echo and the Bunnymen and Teardrop Explodes, who all played here at Eric's. But by the mid-80s, he'd left the indie world behind and he was working for the enemy, the major label Warner's.
Took us all by surprise. By this time, Bill had become a record company executive, a despised record company executive, really, in many ways. That's how we viewed them, as A&R souls. I don't suppose you're allowed to say that on BBC, are you? Bloody A&R souls.
KLF to me is Bill getting really fed up of being an A&R man. You know, it seemed like a good idea at the time to take that wage from Warner Brothers, but it's really, really, making me boil and I'm ready to go. So KLF was the kind of end result of all that. And he threw himself in there 100%.
KLF is gonna rock you.
Over the next few years, Bill and Jimmy would release records as the KLF. With another #1, 5 more top 10s and a smash hit in America, for an 18-month period, the KLF were the biggest selling singles band in Europe.
With no manager, no office. They had a lock-up where they kept their costumes that they wore on top of the pops with the horns coming out of their head, and a squat, and a phone, and two visionary imaginations in Bill and Jimmy, and they sold millions and millions of singles. Suddenly, there was a sense of cash from chaos again, rippling through the industry, that everything's possible. It's got nothing to do with guitars, it's got nothing to do with people in suede or leather jackets singing about their girlfriend. It's people doing something truly extraordinary that hasn't been done before.
The KLF had been inspired by acid house, a grassroots dance movement that had captured the nation's youth in the late 80s.